Finding self behind the hidden mystery, under a mask of humanity's identity.
Based on lack of wisdom and pursuit of greed, my life has been denied the implant of the now. Consciousness sees I am much more than I've been told. So let's allow this factual story to unfold. Myself is a prize of amazing grace, in search of lost memory that's still being traced. I am being filled with love and light, playing a major role in this flight of life. Finding self buried beneath dark debris, not allowing the connection with the higher me. I am enough. of the pathway to alignment. This is powerful movement for human assignments, finding self, a mission for magnetic awareness. There is a force connected to willfully carry us. All that's within me is all that I need to gain a pure sense of self to succeed, to draw the energies for phenomenal change. Prepare for the coming of the divine Big Bang. I am being filled with love and light, playing a major role in this flight of life. Finding self buried beneath dark debris, not allowing the connection with the higher me. I am in the strength. I am in the power, rising in this sacred hour. I am in harmonizing with consciousness, vibrating memory of eternal oneness. I find self, I will find you. To find yourself is to create the sensation and exposure of truth. We shall pass it on and on and on. Pass it on and on and on. Finding self. Pass it on and on and on. Pass it on and on. Finding love. Pass it on and on. Finding truth.
Finding self. Finding self. Wow. Why is that such a powerful? I think we just need to do a talk one day about finding self, just finding self. Because that's what this journey's all about, finding self. But not the self you think you're looking for, but the self that's within you. Good morning, this is Reverend R. Ken. You're here at Unity of Chicago South, the #1 online New Thought streaming community from Chicago. And we welcome you here today. Wherever you are and however you've come. I want to let you know beginning April 12th, a little bit less than a month away, our Sunday gatherings will take a new format. We began exploring the metaphysical teachings of Charles Fillmore, as well as other New Thought luminaries, explaining how their insights can help us live more consciously and effectively. Now, right now, we're calling this new series Metaphysical Insights for Practical Living Sundays. It's a long one, and we might have to shorten that up. But it will include readings, reflections, and practical application of the ideas of Fillmore and the other New Thought thinkers that we present. Now, the way it works is that each week we will read a portion of Fillmore's or the work of some other important figure from the New Thought movement and explain how these ideas can help us live a greater awareness and clarity and spiritual understanding. Live in greater awareness and in greater clarity and in spiritual understanding. So I want you to know that as you continue this resurrection reset journey, please, please, please keep in mind there is more on the way. Reframing, seeing life from a different perspective. Wow. To know that there is a power available to everyone, no matter their race, gender, or religion. Now, you can believe whatever it is you may, but you should know that the source of the universe is the source of each of us. Therefore, the power supporting the stars is the same power that's available to each of us. Wow. The same power. So as we search to finding self, we're looking for our connection with that power. Good morning and welcome again. Today we continue our journey through what we've been calling the resurrection reset. It has been a 6 week, it is a 6 week, it's not there yet. We're in week number 3 actually. It is a 6 week reset where we travel together. We travel together in this exploration, and we're moving toward Easter. And what this journey is about, it's been about something deeper than just simply preparing for a holiday. It's been about recognizing that transformation begins within consciousness. The first week, which happened to be March 1st, we explored awareness. Now, awareness for us is the moment when we began to see clearly the patterns that shape and that are shaping our lives. And then last week, March 8th, we spoke about release. We know release as the release of the willingness. Release is the willingness to loosen our grip on ideas, identities, or expectations that may no longer serve who we are becoming or who we want to become. And today, we arrive at the next step, the third step in the journey, and it's called reframing. And what reframing is, it means learning to see our lives from a different perspective. And sometimes a change in perspective can change everything. But right now, let us just quiet it down. Let us center ourselves and prepare ourselves for the message, not my message, but the message for that which is within you is seeking and will find in the energies from the center of me, from the God in me. Namaste, the Christ in me recognizes the Christ in you. So for a moment, let the Christ in us kind of take over. Let the Spirit in us take over. Let the godness in us take over. Let the spiritual core of us take over just for a minute. Just for a minute. You know, I want to thank you for that moment, but I want to remind you that there's a simple truth about human life, that many times it takes us years and experiences to eventually discover. If only. Events themselves do not always determine our experience. Events themselves do not always determine our experience. We could go on and on with list after list after list of those folks that have had a tragedy in their lives, a tragedy befall them. And one group said, it's not going to stop me. And the other group said, how can I go on? So it's not the experience. It's not the events that determine what the experience will be. Oftentimes, it is the meaning we give those events that shape how we experience them. Woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. This was a terrible thing that happened to me. I lost everything. I lost everything in the fire. I lost everything in storage. I lost everything because I was robbed. I lost everything. But the fact of the matter is that two people may have had the same experience, the same fire, the same storage, the same thievery, but they experience it completely in different ways. I've been in direct sales for a while, a long time ago. Still doing a little bit of it. But I worked for a guy once, and you have to go in and report and so forth and so on. And I called in and said, well, I think his name was Jim. How's Jim doing? What's going on? And she said, his wife said, we were robbed. Really? So we came in and we saw the guy running down the street with the TV. I said, wow, what an experience. That had to be really, really devastating. And she said, Jim laughed. He laughed because he knew another TV was available for him. So you see, one person, I didn't see it that way. I said, well, it's devastating, you see. Two people, same experience, but seeing it a different way. And as we go forward, there's a person that sees an experience as a failure while the other person sees it as preparation for the next step. One may see a loss and another person sees, I need to go in a different direction. The difference doesn't lie in the actual event. The difference lies in the perspective. The Apostle Paul hinted at this idea in a passage from the epistles to the Romans. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, he did not say, it was not written that the transformation happens because the circumstances change. The person running down the street with the TV is still the person running down the street with the TV. He said that transformation begins when the mind is renewed. How do I see the person running down the street with the TV, and what is my life like? See, when the way we think changes, the way we experience life begins to change. Let's look to the poet and writer Maya Angelou. And she wrote once something like this. It's very simple and very profound. Said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. See, the attitude is what we have total control over, maybe not the situation, but certainly our attitude. Now, sometimes when people hear that statement, they think it means ignoring reality. But it does not. That's not what she meant at all. That's not what she meant at all. Changing attitude means recognizing that that I possess a remarkable freedom. A remarkable freedom. It's part of our free will. The freedom to interpret our experiences differently. And when the interpretation changes, experiences change. When the interpretation changes, the experience changes. Wow. Now, in New Thought, we have the same or similar philosophy. The tradition is that this is an idea that comes again and again in the readings from various authors. They emphasize that our inner interpretation, the interpretation nobody sees when you're around. Nobody saw what Jeb saw except for his wife when he laughed at the person running down the street with the TV. I didn't see it, and when I heard about it, I had a whole different reaction. No one sees our inner interpretations, but our inner interpretations shape the world we experience. Wow. You know, the mystic teacher, Neville Goddard, he says it just straight out. Your assumptions determine your experience. Can't be straighter than that. Your assumptions, what you assume about a situation, determines your experience of the situation. Your assumption, that facts, but what you assume. Think about that just for a moment. Just for a moment, think about that. See, if we assume that life is against us, we interpret events through that lens as though life is against us, and we see the events as, yeah, there's another one, life's against me, see. But if we assume that life is unfolding with meaning and possibility, we begin to see opportunity where we once only saw obstacles. So that is why reframing is so powerful. Reframing changes the lens through which we see our lives. Now, the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung once said this: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Whoa, what are we saying here? In other words, many of the reactions we experience are not really conscious choices. Many of our reactions are not conscious choices. They are reactions that if we look back at them, we say, you know, I don't even know why I reacted that way in that particular situation. Why? Because of the unconscious. They are patterns. They're patterns of interpretation that develop over time. But once we become aware, of those patterns, something remarkable happens. We gain the ability to choose a different interpretation. We gain the ability to, last week, release the old thought, the old interpretation, and embrace a new one. So this reframing, what does it look like? What does it look like? It begins with a simple question. Simple question. What else might this mean? What else might, I know what it means. It means I'm broke. It means I'm in trouble. It means that my health, it means I know what it means. But the simple statement of what else might this means opens up an entire world of possibilities. See, when something difficult happens in life, our mind immediately begins to interpret it. But what is it interpreting based on? It's interpreting it based on patterns that are already in our life, already been put in. But that first interpretation that we have is not the only interpretation available. The one that's been planted in our minds and our souls and our hearts. It's not the only interpretation. And if we could just pause for a moment, it may allow us to have preparation for a new idea, new thought. And we will see it differently. A challenge may become growth. A setback may merely become redirection for the betterment of our lives. Understand this, reframing does not deny reality. And this is so hard within the New Thought community because we believe that when we first let me speak for myself, when I first embraced this or started to embrace this stuff, this philosophy, this idea, this yeah, you're telling me to like differently. I see it. I'm looking right at it. So this is reality to me. But when we understand that reframing does not ask us to deny reality, it just expands the way we understand reality. That there are more options available, even with the situation as it presents itself, and we don't know all the options. You know, if you've been following us, you know that we work with affirmations. Sometimes even myself, I get a slide between affirmations and affirmations. And affirmations were developed by author Noah St. John and supported by science. And we won't spend a lot of time on that, but understand supported by science is a very big thing. And the way it works is that instead of making statements that we may not believe yet, I am great, I am wonderful, I am rich, I am powerful, I am beautiful, we ask empowering questions like, what else can I learn from this situation? So an example of this is that instead of saying, I understand my life clearly, we may ask, why am I beginning to see my life from a new perspective? And this question, what the question does, it invites the mind to explore possibilities. It allows the mind to explore possibilities. Now, this question, let's just sit with it for a minute. Just for a moment. Why am I beginning to see my life from a new perspective? Let's just say, why am I beginning to see my life from a new perspective? Just allow that which is within you to respond. It may be quietly responding. You may not even hear it responding, but the question has been posed, and the brain, the mind, the soul must answer. Why am I beginning to see different possibilities? Another important voice in New Thought, of course, is Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. And Holmes once wrote, change your thinking, change your life. Simple. Just change your thinking, change your life. And this statement, though, is not about forcing ourselves to think positive thoughts. Not at all. It's about recognition. It's about recognizing that our inner perspective shapes the outer experience. When thinking changes, experiences gradually follow. I think the key for us, the key for me, gradually follow. Sometimes if I think a different thought, I want immediately, right now, response in the change of my actions. But science tells us that it takes 21 days to create a habit and 21 days to break a habit. So why do I think because I have a new thought today that tomorrow things change? The new thought needs to be impregnated into the brain, into the mind, into my soul, into my being, into my fiber, into the self-conscious. And that takes a moment. But we still want to stay with the reframing because the reframing leads naturally to the next step in our journey. Because once perspectives change, life begins slowly, maybe with more speed for some than others, but it begins to move into a different direction. See, as our thoughts begin to align with our intentions began to shape our actions. As our thoughts align with our intentions, not I take over and shape my actions, our intentions begin to shape our action. And our job is to flow with the change that we are creating. Sometimes we want to not flow with the change that we're creating. I got a new thought here. My intentions are picking up on the new thought. They're taking me in a different direction, and I don't want to go over there. I just don't want to go over that way. But when we move with it, move with the intention, knowing that we set the intention with the different thinking, with the new thought, with the way we are reframing our perspective. When this happens and it's moving together, it's a movement toward harmony. It's a movement toward harmony, and that's what we're going to experience next week. That step is called alignment. Now, as we move through this resurrection reset journey, something important becomes clear. We stay open and receptive. We understand that resurrection is not merely an event remembered once a year. We shifted it. It's a shift in consciousness, and it begins in the moment we see our lives from a new perspective. The moment we see situations from a new perspective. The moment we see all there is from a new perspective. We start small and it grows, it expands. And the point is, the reason is, when perspective changes, possibility appears. And when possibility appears, life begins to unfold differently. It's a natural progression from the change in perspective to the unfoldment of life differently. And what happens with that unfolding, we know that it begins with the simple moment of regrowing awareness. When I become aware that, hey, this ain't what I want, but there is what I want available. Scripture people, I give you dominion over all that was given to you in Genesis, the first book. So let's keep that awareness that we do have dominion over all. And let's carry that awareness into next week and the weeks ahead. And let's move this week focused on the fact that we have power. We have the power. I want you to say this to yourself, if not out loud. We have the power. I have the power to reframe the picture of life, the picture of my life, the picture of the experience, the picture of the incident. I can reframe how I see it and open the door to the multitude of possibilities that exist in the kingdom of life. With that said, I'd say we take a moment just to reflect on our greatness, not as a person, not as a human being, but our greatness as a spiritual being. And because we are a spiritual being, all that there is available to us. Our journey is to embrace the possibility. And we thank you, Mother, Father, God. We thank you, kind Holy Spirit. We thank you, kind Divine Master. We thank you, Oversoul. We thank you, by any name, the Creator of my being, for the possibilities that have been placed before me. And now, as I reframe the way I see situations, they come forth positive and powerful in my life. We know that it is so, and so it is. Until next time, I bid you namaste. The Christ in me, the Spirit in me, the holiness in me responds, respects, and recognizes the Christ, the holiness, the Spirit in you. Blessings and blessings.